Welcome, good morning. Welcome to the Board of Directors regular board meeting, November 20th, 2025. Laura, may I please have a roll call?
Sure. Director Arnold. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Director Gilbert.
Here.
Great.
Close.
Director Koenig.
Present.
Director McBride.
That's just lots of better. Yeah, he's online.
Director McBride.
Present.
Thank you. Alderwoman Sonia.
Present.
Director Spencer.
Perfect timing. I'm present, but not in the office, as you can see.
Wow. Okay. Good job. A lot of good timing. All right. And Director Young.
Present.
And Chair Halls.
Present.
Thanks all here.
Thank you. May I please have a motion for the approval of minutes October 16th, 2025 regular board meeting and the October 27th, 2025 special board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonia.
Aye.
Director Spencer.
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
And Chair Halls.
Aye. Thank you very much. Here with us today is Peter Phillips, who is going to address the board regarding Resolution 25 SLDC 1050, authorizing the subgrant and expenditure of funds to LCRA for environmental cleanup at 4690 and 4700 Goodfellow Boulevard.
Yes, thank you, and good morning, directors. So as stated, Resolution 25 SLDC 1050 is a resolution seeking the authorization for the issuance and execution of a subgrant to the Land Clearance Redevelopment Authority of the City of St. Louis for a cleanup grant for the remediation of 4690 and 4700 Goodfellow Boulevard. This is a site that the LCRA purchased previously that they are looking to remediate and demolish as an effort to do some land assemblage and pre-development for some larger redevelopment opportunities for the city of St. Louis. This site is part of a larger previous federal complex that had some other issues. The site to the north was the St. Louis Army ammunition plant that LCRA also owns, that has previously been remediated and demolished as well. That had extensive remediation. So this site would also be remediated and demolished and combined with that to offer more acreage, a total of almost 30 acres in total for a fairly large redevelopment site. This subgrant would offer up to $500,000 towards that remediation and remediation only. We do expect the demolition to be a part of a bid that is out currently right now for LCRA. But the funds from this EPA revolving loan fund are only eligible for remediation costs, not for just demolition itself. And so a couple of items that I want to mention as some background is SLDC does have multiple different awards from the EPA Brownfield program. This one would be coming from a $2.5 million supplemental grant that SLDC was awarded a couple of years ago. There is no cost match requirement, and we are allowed to grant upwards of 50% of those funds. To date, we have not loaned or granted anything of that 2.5. So this would be the first grant or loan from that 2.5 million. And I say up to because again, all expenditures and drawdowns from any of these funds are subject to the approval of and review of EPA as they are submitted for drawdowns. And so they are all reviewed and subject to compliance and of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources purview of the remedial action plan that they deem to be necessary for remediation. So there is a remedial action plan that is submitted to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for their approval, that they oversee the remediation. Like they are the oversight regulatory agency that oversees the remediation to ensure that all of the work is being done up to par, right? So all of this is being overseen by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. They have approved the remedial action plan already. Any of the work that is done that is submitted for reimbursement through this program must line up with that remedial action plan. And then if, again, it can be paid up to $500,000 or drawn up to $500,000, which is the cap per site according to this EPA program. And then anything over and above other funding sources must provide the remaining. At this time, the remaining funding sources that are planned from LCRA would be an ARPA program that has been awarded to LCRA. And so that is the plan. The bids are expected to come in for the remediation and demolition next week. So we would know the actual cost of the remediation and demo soon. And then once we know the total amount, everything will be packaged, and then we'll know the total amount. The contract will be awarded, you know, and then everything will be submitted to EPA for approval. Contract will be awarded, work will start, invoices will come in, they will be reviewed. Eligible costs will be reviewed and drawn down towards this 500,000 as applicable and reviewed by MDNR, EPA, and ourselves. And then they will be paid out as applicable. So that would be how it works. We believe, as staff, we believe that it is a good project, something that we think is a good opportunity for the city and the Goodfellow corridor. It's been an important corridor, one that is, you know, that the federal government was a very important corridor while they were there, and they have, you know, moved on since, and we see it as a big opportunity for development, but it has a lot of needs. And so we think that providing the EPA funding to assist with the remediation needs for this site would be very helpful. So that is why we are seeking authorization for the use of these funds for this site at this time. So I will go ahead and open it up for any questions that you may have.
If I can just add on to what Peter is saying. Our focus going forward is along corridors here now, and so this aligns with that philosophy as we look at all of the corridors, the main corridors, particularly those that are going east, west, and north, south throughout the city. And so the Goodfellow corridor, as he indicated, had many defense agencies there, going all the way back to support of World War II with the ammunition manufacturing there. And so as a result of all of that, that has caused that contamination that he has described. And so kudos to Peter and the team for getting the funds, and now we're ready to use them and assemble some of the sites that we need to be assembling. So in addition to the corridors, what we are looking at is how we can acquire real estate and cause it to be redeveloped. And that's real estate that is sort of sitting idle and not contributing toward taxes or anything. And so we're strategically looking at these sites and trying to get them aligned so that we can get them redeveloped. So asking the board to consider this one and approve it.
So has this, I recall being one of the older people in the room, the park or all of this has been remediated once or something. I mean, what is this? Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Am I crazy?
No,
I
no.
remember a huge cleanup project there.
So I may have alluded to it, I probably wasn't very clear. So
Okay.
these parcels are 4690 and 4700. The
Okay,
one you are probably remembering is 4800,
Okay.
just to the north.
okay,
That is the 17-acre site just to the north, and that was an extensive remediation.
Okay.
And you probably remember it as the Big Claw. When I first came to St. Louis, it was
Yeah.
a very distinguished structure, right at Goodfellow. It was
Okay.
abandoned, but it was,
and this is contiguous to that.
That is,
Okay,
these
that makes
sites are
sense, that makes
just to the south,
Okay.
correct?
Thank you. Okay, and then the goal will be to market it?
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions?
Peter, I'll just jump in and just for clarity's sake, we were marketing the 17 acres previously, but since we're going to assemble this additional, I think it's 13 acres, then we'll start really pushing the marketing for that site in total.
Correct, and yes, and I think I saw, that is, and then there is also, we are also in communications too. There is, just as a point of note, there is activity on the site. The buildings just south to that, there are a couple of buildings that are fully leased. There is a private owner that is, doing warehousing and logistics, and there are multiple buildings just to the south there that are 100% leased. So it's not a totally vacant area. So there is activity happening. And so I just wanted to know that we're talking with him and he is an active partner. And so I just wanted to make that clear that the whole area is not vacant. And we do plan on marketing the whole site as an active site or an active opportunity. And we are seeking other opportunities for assemblage and opportunities for the corridor as a whole as well.
so at another meeting, we will probably, in executive session, be able to give the board a deep dive on all of the real estate desires that we do have, so that we can make you aware that this is the beginning and that we will be looking at others along the way.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, wonderful. At this time, may we have a motion to approve resolution 25 SLDC 1050? So move.
Second. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Sonier.
Aye.
Director Spitzer.
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
And Chair House.
Aye. Peter, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, at this time,
Madam Chair, if we could we just allow us to give the update before we go into executive session?
okay. Yes. Okay, Otis, are you gonna?
Sure. Today we're going to do a couple of things, and I'm going to begin it, but I'm going to hand off to a couple of staff members to give a more detailed update on some topics. I'm going to start with M&W PE. We are currently working with our consultant, Griffin and Strong. The board approved us entering into an agreement with Griffin and Strong. We're continuing that. There is a draft board bill that is being coordinated and reviewed, and getting comments are being gained. And we are continuing to work that with various stakeholder groups. We've had discussions with the mayor's office, the president of the Board of Aldermen, and some members of the Board of Aldermen as well, and with some constituent groups. And so we are taking all that input, but we will continue to do that. And I think what we're trying to do is to review all of that, have another review with the constituents, and get something to the Board of Aldermen in the December timeframe. And probably by the first of the year, there hopefully will be a draft board bill or a board bill that would be introduced at the Board of Aldermen. So that's where we are. I'll let James add on to that because he's been doing the yeoman's work on getting us through the coordination.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit all the highlights. There's not too much more to expand upon. We have a draft board bill that would update the program and bring it in line with the 2024 disparity study. That draft has been circulated amongst elected officials. It's been circulated amongst stakeholders, and we are currently in the process of receiving comments back. You know, the tentative goal is to try and have something ready for introduction before the Board of Aldermen goes down for the winter recess. We're working towards that objective, but we want to make sure that the final product that is introduced harmonizes all the responses and is something that everybody is agreeable to, that is also going to be consistent with the underlying factual predicate, looking at utilization versus availability. So we're continuing to work on it, and we'll certainly keep the board updated as things progress.
The next initiative is the ARPA, and you all have had a number of conversations about that, but I thought we would give you a brief update since we did provide an update to the Board of Aldermen just 2 days ago. Was it yesterday? But it was this week. Okay. So I have Lorna Alexander online, and so Lorna, if you could provide an update on that, please.
I will. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Can you all see my ARPA update?
Can you make it a little larger if you can?
Oh, probably someone has to come rescue me for that.
Miss Lorna, did you want the opening slide? Because we see a spreadsheet right now.
No. So let me stop sharing that.
Click on those little pluses in the.
Stephanie's come to help me. Okay, hold on. So we've got here, we've got ARPA, we got share. And where am I going, Stephanie?
Oh, in that spreadsheet that you were showing. Are you showing it from that slide?
Yes.
All right, where is it? Where is the data in the slide?
We see it.
You see it? It's good?
Okay, so that's what you need.
Okay, thank you.
Blue
So
screen.
as Otis mentioned, I had an opportunity to go before the HUD's committee on Tuesday. All city departments are going before the HUD's committee to give status updates on their expenditures of the ARPA funds since the deadline is December 31st, 2026. Of course, we are not a city department, but because we received such a large chunk of ARPA funding passed through CDA, the administration asked that SLDC give its own update. So I have about 5 slides here where I can go through our 13 programs real quickly, and then the VPs and senior VPs could give you more detail on any of them or the questions about the expenditures to date. So let's see. Okay, so we were appropriated $108,675,000, all passed through the Community Development Administration. All those funds were programmed as of December 31st, 24, as required by the ARPA final rule. And to date, our expenditures are $45,464,000, which is about almost 42% of the funds we were appropriated. And so we stood up 13 programs with these funds. And so here's just a quick review of those programs. We had a small business grant program, as you know, where we provided $5,000 grants. We provided those to 900 businesses. That program is completed. On the Northside Economic Empowerment Center, they had a standalone program initially for their funding through 2024. They have expended those funds. The remaining amount is being held, waiting on approval from CDA to pay out on their lease at the Harrison Center. So that program is completed, that initial funding for the NEEC. For 2025, the NEEC is being funded through the Monarch subrecipient agreement with CDA. They are an output in that subrecipient agreement to fund their organization through 2025 at the amount of $500,000. Last on this particular slide is the citywide housing development pool. This pool got off on a fast start where we provided $5 million loans to both Tabernacle and to Habitat for Humanity. They've completed combined 18 homes so far and that they've sold to low-income families. We've also funded at $675,000 of $750,000 allocated to McCormick Barron for Preservation Square Phase 4, where they're completing apartments for 30% AMI rental households. In this program as well is the infill housing. 2 developers have responded to the infill housing RFP to construct 10 homes. And so I think we are where they're in the process of going to select one of those 2 developers. That would leave us about $3.2 million left in this work program that we initially were hoping we could work with Prop and S properties in some form, some way to get some of those properties stabilized and developed. Due to time constraints, we are considering possibly moving that money to our home buyer assistance program, opening it back up and to get those funds out the door by December 31st. Now, anything I've said after I get through this, again, if a senior VP or any of the VPs in charge of any of these programs want to come in and give a more detailed update, so welcome. Next, we have our Scale Up STL program, and that's the revolving loan program where we've partnered with the St. Louis Community Credit Union. We, in 2024, put a questionnaire up on our Develop STL portal to see for folks who are interested in the loan program. We received 140 completed questionnaires. We then submitted to those 140 a communication asking them to complete a more detailed questionnaire and assessment that would allow us on the SLDC side to review their business and operations for grant eligibility. And at the same time, they are working with Kevin Wilson from the Small Business Empowerment Center, and the credit union he's consulting with them. And he's reviewing the questionnaires and the assessments for creditworthiness. Those who receive a passing score on both our sides will then be sent an application from the credit union to apply for the loan. Mobilize STL, we are waiting for CDA to approve our contract with Rise. They've had it for quite a while. They've asked some questions. I believe we've answered all their questions and concerns at this point. The process is similar to that of Scale Up. We have 60 businesses who completed the portal questionnaire. And we will do the same similar assessment and review for those businesses. Now, the Mobilize STL is targeting and only for construction contractors and construction suppliers. And there's about $1 million of the 1.375 million. $1 million will be used for, half of it will be used for grants for these businesses, and the other half for loans. We think this program is really important at this time because this will allow the businesses, the smaller ones, to be able to be competitive and bid on all the construction that's going to be going on, especially in North St. Louis in the recovery efforts. And these loans will allow them to fund their workers and subcontractors as they wait for payment from the city, FEMA, wherever it's coming from. The next program is the LCRA Proactive Development Program. Today, our major projects team, they've acquired 12 parcels. There are 4 in negotiation for acquisition, an additional 12 targeted for offers. The program has also paid for the removal of an underground storage tank on one of the properties. And I think, as Peter mentioned earlier, RFP is issued for remediation and demolition of one building. And additional stabilization improvements to these acquired properties will be coming in early 2026. The next program is LRA Proactive Development. So that program for the $4.5 million, the targets were Club Imperial and Wellston Loops, with the hope of stabilizing those 2 buildings. The site condition assessments have been completed on both of them, and bid specs and solicitations are expected early 2026 for construction to begin, or whatever road they're going to take. Next is the Monarch Acquisition Development and Program Operation. So we were allotted these funds in different pools. At the advice of CDA, which we agreed we put them all in one program. That's why it's $8,750,000. Of that $8 million, the $4 million that has been spent was used about $2 million of it to acquire the Killark Electric Building, and for the holding costs, electricity, water, sewage, and the real big expense there on a monthly basis is the 24/7 security. So they're modifying the designs and stabilization for LRA to move in. I believe the LRA crew to move into the building, and they're working on the repairs or designing the repairs needed for the main structure. They reported that RFPs will be issued early 2026, and Peter's big point, fundraising is needed for the main vision of developing this site into a workforce development campus. And I'm sure other folks have a lot that they can talk about with that. On our digital equity side,
Lorna, might be worthwhile noting that this site is also currently being used as a warehouse for support to tornado activities. And has been since the tornado. So it has served a good purpose for the city.
Yes. Next on the list is our digital equity program. It's in process. There are 3 learning labs and 3 recreation centers in the city of St. Louis, and they've reported that they've served 2,784 households to date. Next on the list is our down payment assistance program, where the appropriation was initially at $3.8 million. We have provided home buyer assistance to 40 first-time home buyers. We had reserved funds for the entire amount, including the developments by Habitat and Tabernacle. And so in December, we're going to look at where we're at. We have a pretty good idea, and we believe we're going to open the program back up for some of the property purchases that fell through, and it will be opened back up for citywide purchases of citywide homes, not just in any targeted area. The LRA beautification program, great progress. We're in the second cutting season, near the end of it, cutting and debris removal. We do have 6 lawn care professionals under contract through September 2026. Let's see. And then lastly, the infamous North City Grant Program, where we've provided the smaller grants to, the technical assistance, stabilization, operational expansion, as I've brought them before the board month after month, to over 300 businesses totaling $9 million. That's our $9 million in expenditures, almost. And then we have also funded the Foster's Funeral Home at $1.7 million on the community enhancement side. So the first round, as many of you all are aware, the first round of community enhancement conditional awards, they've been brought back to the board for approval. Of those, we are now down to, of the original 45 for the 23 million, we're down to 26 viable projects, which they're now in the CDA approval legal phase. So the CDA has 6 of them looking out for approval. They will receive another 6 on Friday. And their legal documents, because they're all required to enter into a beneficiary agreement, a dispersing agreement, a LORA, and a deed of trust. Their legal documents have all been drafted. They're part of their packet, so we're excited to get those moving. With that, because we went from the $23 million of conditional awards and we're down to 16 for those 26 projects, we have completed our review of what we're calling our Round 2 Community Enhancement Awards. And these are the businesses that originally applied, and they were sent notices of being unsuccessful. So with those notices of being unsuccessful back in June, when we posted the original conditional award list, they were given the opportunity to have a one-on-one debriefing with Lance Knuckles, our senior VP at that time. Most of the businesses took advantage of that debriefing, over 136, I believe, took advantage of that debriefing. And in that debriefing, errors or on our part were discovered in maybe their headquarter address was geocoded for incentive points rather than their site address where they had the site control where they wanted to build or improve. So after all of those debriefings, there was a pool of 58 businesses that had passed that phase 1 geocoding score and went to the phase 2, the viability of their project was reviewed, and then they went into what we call the funding consideration phase. So they have been reviewed for funding consideration. We're no longer ever will again say conditional award. So they're what we're calling them are finalists now. So we had a workshop on Tuesday inviting the finalists. There are 31 of them. 23 of them are facade improvement projects, and the other 8 are the larger projects. So we had a workshop for them, an informational and next step workshop on Tuesday, followed by a one-on-one review of their files, providing them the checklist of all the documents that they will need to get to the legal phase, the legal document drafting phase. So they're on a fast track that we're hoping we will get them all closed, the new group, by February of 2026. Now, the good news with the construction project is that with our expenditure deadline of December 31st, 26, the project does not have to be completed, but our funds have to be expended. So we are coaching them to put our funds on the line items that are going to be spent first. That way we can be ensured our money is expended. We will, of course, monitor the project to completion, but in order to meet ARPA's, the Treasury's expenditure deadline, we are, again, coaching that our money goes in and comes out first. So we don't have to, as they repeatedly said to the HUD's committee, give a dime back to the Treasury of money that St. Louis did not spend. And then lastly, is the SLDC ARPA admin contract. So you can see it's about $9 million. It's less than 10% of our total allocation. And we at no time tried to use more than needed to administer these programs so that the bulk of the money could go to the citizens of St. Louis. So in the end, there are figures with 41% expended, and we were asked more than once, are we confident that SLDC will expend its funds by the December deadline? And my response was yes. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that I may answer or one of the other senior staff may answer that you might have.
Thank you, Lorna. I have a question in this, and I can't read the screen very well. I apologize, but my question is, you had mentioned that two respondents for the infill housing contracts, only two contractors. That seems low to me. And then you also, I think, said that money is not allocated through infill housing construction would be diverted and pivoted to the homebuyer assistance funding program. So my question twofold. One, well, actually three. One, two contractors responding seems low to me. Has anybody looked at that? I mean, just only two contractors responding to an infill housing right now?
So it's Shelton is online. So this was more than just an RFP for developers. There was a design phase that was initiated and started this infill housing project. But Shelton, if you could step in.
Yes. Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, Chair House. So to clarify, there was before an RFP issued a request for qualifications. Through that request for qualifications, we actually received 12 qualified applicants at that time. We convened a selection committee who voted to select the top developers from that pool to issue an RFP to. So the RFP was actually issued to 6 firms at that time. And of the 6 firms, we did receive 2 responses. The remaining applicants either did not respond to the RFP or withdrew from the RFP. And largely due to the timing of when the RFP was issued, it was actually issued in April, right before the May 16th tornado. And so due to that, some respondents changed their trajectory for other projects or other work in the city of St. Louis. And so now what has occurred is with the legal guidance that we've received from the city council's office, I believe approximately a week ago, we are now looking forward to move forward with reconvening the selection committee. We're actually going to be interviewing the candidates before hopefully the first week of December, and then moving forward with presenting to the substantial awards committee that is coming up in the first week of December, and then on to the SLDC board in December for the final selection. So we look forward to those phases, finalizing and moving forward with selecting a developer.
Thank you so much. That helps. I think that helps flush that out a little bit. Lorna, could you also talk a little bit briefly, and we don't need a deep dive, about the home buyer assistance program and the funding that's being moved over there? What is that? Is that a down payment assistance?
Yes, it's one of the programs that was further down. So here this program. So what the program is we've partnered with Stiefel, and they are the administrator of the program with us. The program was created with our down payment assistance being like a mortgage opportunity product. And so Stiefel helped created all the guidelines for the program. And then they sent out a request for participants. So about, I believe, 8, 9 lending institutions responded to their request, and they are part of the program. And those lending institutions are allowed to offer our down payment assistance to folks coming in wanting to buy their first-time home buyers. And so what that assistance is, so they work with us, they get the information from the home buyer, they send it in to us, we review it for grant eligibility and the required grant documentation for low-income households. We then reserve the money for them, and then they send in the information about the home they're going to buy. We require inspection, all the due diligence that you need to ensure they're buying a home that they can move into. So it's not for vacant properties or homes that need rehab. These are homes ready to be moved into with occupancy permits. So with the program, if you are buying a home in St. Louis City on a qualified census tract, you can receive up to $50,000 in this home buyer assistance. The home buyers are mainly using it for down payment. And then depending on the dollar amount of the assistance you receive, because it's up to 50 in a QCT, up to 40,000, not in a QCT. There is an affordability period put on, and a deed of trust put on the home, depending on the dollar amount. So like 15 years, you have to remain in the home or pay back a portion, a yearly portion of the years that you did not stay in the home. So like, for instance, if you did $40,000 and the affordability period is 10 years, 1/10 of that is forgiven each year that you remain in the home. But when you're ready to sell the home, you would have to repay SLDC and us, the city of St. Louis, that remaining amount. And so we've spent $2 million of that. As I said, we've got some reserved for the Habitat Tabernacle development, but we're going to look at it again just for what we have left of the $3.8 million, open it back up in January. And it was just something being considered due to the slow pace of getting the, not the infill housing, but the rehab housing section of the citywide housing pool program up and running.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Rob?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Hawes. I just wanted to go back real briefly on the infill housing program that Shelton was discussing. You're surprised at maybe the low number of turnout or respondents for that initial RFQ. The original concept for this program was innovative infill housing. So we were really looking for new ways of constructing homes in the St. Louis region that maybe did not follow conventional construction, stick-built type construction. So that was a key component of the initial RFQ, to which Shelton mentioned we received 12 responses that were narrowed later to 6, and then only 2 ended up responding. So these were things like modular buildings, potentially 3D printed homes. I think there was at least one respondent who proposed container built homes. So I just wanted to point out that this was the reason why it was not maybe more respondents didn't submit a proposal was because it was looking for innovation in terms of infill housing. So I just want to make that distinction. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, and just one really quick comment. Thank you for that, Rob. In addition to that, as Lorna mentioned, there was a requirement to submit a sample design for the concepts that are being presented, as well as the schedule to go with what would be, again, one, bridging the gap between affordability and quality, but also being able to produce housing in a very short timeline.
So in addition to what the team has said, we have briefed this to the community in the Ville. and we'll continue to have discussions with the group around the old Arnock area there. And talking, well, it was two Saturdays ago that we were there. So I think what I wanted to make sure the board was comfortable with is that we will expend all these funds. We are pushing hard in every program to make sure that we can get there. And if we see a problem, we are moving in a slightly different direction to make sure that we can get it all done. So I hope you all feel comfortable that we will get there.
Thank you. Thank you. Sean's got it. Pretty critical. Director Spencer?
Thank you. One, congratulations on standing up so many of these programs. I think is there 15 in total, Ms. Alexander?
13.
13. I mean, what an accomplishment, and thank you for all your work. You know, one of the programs that gives me a little bit of heartburn is the construction. I know you made a point of trying to explain, you know, the vetting process and getting the money out the door, given the deadline and the timelines. Can you give us a little bit more background on the vetting process where we approve construction? Because especially if we're moving money into those projects on the front end versus the back end, there is more risk, you know, that there could be issues, you know, that the project doesn't get finished. So could you talk a little bit about the vetting and what these organizations or businesses need to bring to the table for us to approve that funding going into the project on the front end?
Yes, so we have, you know, it's broken down. We have the smaller facade projects, and then we have the larger developments, right? And so just to be quite honest, and I said this in front of the HUD's committee as well, we recommended those conditional awards to projects, to those 45 projects. There were raters from SLDC, CDA, all over the place. The projects were not vetted when we made those conditional awards. And so from the time we made those announcements in June 28th of 24, the goal was to vet them. What's difficult with our program is that normally when a developer requests funds for a project, like through CDA's residential development, SLDC, commercial development, they come in and they say, we need $1.2 million for this project, right? They might have plans, they have a budget, whatever. A lot of them did that without a lot of detail. And because the program was so oversubscribed for the construction projects, where they came in or asked of 200, so there were 200 applicants, a little over 200 applicants, and the ask was like $400 million, and we had $23 million. So for those projects that really looked good on paper, we had to go back and say to those folks, hey, we're going to give you a conditional award for this dollar amount. It might have been 1/10 of their project. So now everyone had to go back to the drawing board and then rescope their project. So with the rescopes, with the budget lines, part of our vetting process is that we have to have the commitment letters from all their other funding sources, if there are any, for the viability of the project itself. So we're now past the viability of the business. We've gone and visited the business. We've looked at their records. We've seen where they're operating. Now it's the viability of the project. And so the larger projects, of course, the $1 million project, AMIC, for example, a $2 million project where they're getting $15 million from EDA, they're okay. So we're like coming in on the back end with those projects. So the bigger projects have plans and drawings and budgets and AIA forms and architects that they're using. So we're confident with those. The smaller ones, are taking a little bit more work because these are just small businesses wanting their storefronts improved. And so accurate dispersing, we're working with them who they're graciously working with each of these businesses to help them with their scope, not so much with their scope, but when they provide the scope with their pay list, we're requiring 2 bids for the smaller businesses for any work that they're having done. So if one contractor is going to replace windows and someone else is putting in a door or pouring a driveway, we're asking for 2 bids from those. So I think we're as confident as we can be at this point with them, but we do have 2 development analysts that are working with them on a daily basis to answer any questions that they have. On Rob's team, we do have a construction manager who will be going out. A couple of the businesses have met with him as well. We had to get his okay on the bigger projects. And he will be going out and reviewing drawdown requests from the businesses.
Yeah, great. That is excellent answer, and thank you for that context. I think having my overall concern are the larger projects and just making sure that the other funding and that is going to be in place and that all the steps that you explained are happening. So thank you for that. That first question kind of dives into the overall purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, and it's fabulous that we've got all this money and we're rushing and we want to make sure that we get the money out the door in the appropriate times. But I've said this a couple times in the past, we have to be able to tell the stories on what not only our outputs but our outcomes. And I want to make sure that we're clear as a board that with all this money going out the door, we need to be able to show what it is actually doing in our community to help the city of St. Louis. And without that, it's great we get it out the door and it didn't have to go back to the federal government, but how did it impact our neighborhoods, our commercial corridors, our residents, and our communities in general? And I know we have marketing people and I know we're thinking about that sort of thing, but we only have about a year and a half left here. So we really got to push that into motion.
I agree 100%. And I think part of the dilemma and issue is that the businesses that we're focusing on, the businesses that we've targeted in North St. Louis are businesses for the first time. A lot of them are applying for federal funds just for the first time. Right. And so by not, extending deadlines, having one-on-ones, more than once, come in again, let's look at this document, let's go through your insurance document, this is what you need, so that they don't drop off, so that the purpose of the funds will be put to their use to improve these neighborhoods, improve these corridors. And so with that, it's taken longer than professional developers or, people that have professional teams behind them and right. trying to get this work completed. But we're absolutely 100% dedicated into doing that, into being able to show that the money was put to good use.
Thank you.
And in addition, all of these projects are in support of the Economic Justice Action Plan. I think that was the initial thought by the board back when it was first discussed. And we're continuing to focus on that, and any realignment that we have, we're looking at how that can happen. But to your point, we will make sure that the overall is in support of a storyline that says that we have improved the lives of the citizens of St. Louis, or we have improved the corridors or neighborhoods that we have been focused on. So I think Rob and his team are focused on some of the major projects like Sarah Lou, Wellston Loop. I mean, these are long time eyesores that neighbors have been talking about for a long time. Chuck Berry. So some of those are things that will support the neighborhood and their plans that they currently have. So your comment is well taken, and we will make sure that we have that kind of alignment and the ability to tell that story.
Yeah, thank you. And driving that back to the economic justice plan and other neighborhood plans, I've said this, many times before, we are great at planning. We are not so great at implementing, and this gives us that opportunity to implement in the neighborhoods and on the ground. So thank you for tying it back, because that's an important part of this conversation, that we're starting with a plan and a baseline, and we're using that plan to make the investment. So thanks again.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, so I'm gonna, Stephanie Breezy will introduce our new employee.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. Good to be with you all today. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to introduce our newest employee on the operations team, Sandy Brooks. So hopefully, can you all see my slide with a picture of Sandy? Can someone say yes, you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So Sandy is our new director of grants and philanthropy, and I'm very excited to have her on the team. Sandy has been hired to, as one person, stand up both our organization-wide fundraising strategy and our actual grant writing and grant management strategy for us. So I'm excited to have her on board. I got a couple pictures up here on the screen. I had to convince Sandy to take a picture of herself, not just the dogs for the presentation, but the dogs are very cute. You may have worked with Sandy when she was at the St. Louis Arts Chamber. She's been very involved with them, doing a lot of neighborhood-based and place-based community building. Lots of experience with grant writing, successful grant writing at the state, local, and federal level. And she just brings a lot of energy and passion to this conversation that we're having around grant writing. She's also a master gardener. So if anybody's seen beautiful garden work that we have around town, Sandy is part of that. This is just a high level kind of working draft of how we're thinking of approaching this fundraising strategy. We are really starting with the core kind of citywide focuses for SLDC, thinking about fundraising for housing opportunities and also fundraising around the commercial corridors. And the way that work is showing up is in kind of more programmatic focus. So how can we do fundraising for our neighborhood related programs, our real estate related programs, and our small business programs? And then also on the collaboration side, how can we work with other organizations to co-sponsor grant applications? And how can we provide technical assistance to other 501c3s in the city who may not have a grant writer on staff? Or that kind of long-standing grant writing experience that Sandy has. So this is, again, just high-level picture of how we're approaching our grant writing strategy. Sean, bringing it back to something that you said just in this last session around outputs versus outcomes. Sandy, in all of her sessions, has asked folks about data. And we've been really thoughtful about not just counting how many times we go to a meeting, right? Or how many times we send an email or talk to a particular party, but what is the outcome of all of that work? What is the impact on the city? And what does it mean for our growth and prosperity in the long term? So welcome aboard, Sandy. I don't know, Sandy is on a call. So Sandy, I didn't know if you wanted to come off and say a couple of things about yourself, or real quick, because I know that we've got some other things on the board agenda, but wanted to give you a chance for that if you're interested.
Just really quick, thank you for the opportunity to work with all the teams. I am really looking forward to this very big job, but I think very potentially impactful job for the city.
Sounds great.
And yes, that's my backyard in the background.
Thanks so much. That's it, Otis. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Rob, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to speak to a couple. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Otis. I wanted to speak to a couple of the projects. You alluded to a couple of them, and as has Peter. With respect to the two of the funds that are provided for ARPA funding, one is the LRA Proactive Development Fund, the other one being the LCRA Proactive Development Fund. We also refer to that as the Land Assemblage Fund. And then we also have been provided some funding through the Eco-Devo tax for some stabilization work. So we are currently attempting to preserve for future development 7 properties, 7 buildings actually, that are on the National Register of Historic Places. These are some cases buildings that LRA or LCRA has owned for a while and just didn't have the funding to do any significant stabilization work. And in other cases, these are being acquired through our LCRA Proactive Development Fund. Our goal with all of these is to make the buildings, first of all, weatherproof, keep the rain and the snow out, and obviously the wind as well, to secure these buildings so that we can keep intruders out, which always creates a lot of problems with vandalism, risk of fire, graffiti, and that sort of thing. To the extent that we have funding available, any serious structural issues will be addressed. That's really the stabilization portion of that work. And then also, to the extent the funding is available, we may do some select demo of non-contributing components of the building or outbuildings in some cases, and internal cleanup. A lot of these buildings have been vandalized and by neglect. Plaster falls, ceiling tiles fall, and that sort of thing. And some of the buildings are very difficult to navigate around. So just to give you that list, the Wellston Loop Station, Otis talked about that earlier. One time was a streetcar station, later became a bus loop station. We are finally now moving forward. The architects were actually on site Monday and Tuesday this week doing their scan of the properties. So we're very excited about that now finally moving forward. Our goal, this is on the 6100 block of MLK. Our goal is to fully stabilize this one to the extent possible. Chuck Berry House that was mentioned, that work is nearly complete. We do have an awning yet to be installed and a railing, and we also want to improve the sidewalk out front, which has really been damaged over the years. And so that's funded by the Eco-Devo tax. Cleveland High School, we are in the process of negotiating the acquisition with St. Louis Public Schools. Marshall School, another MLK corridor focus. Again, we are in negotiations with the SLPS to acquire that building. The Railway Exchange building in downtown, you've all been following along with the work related to that, and City Block 129 to the immediate south of that. We will be appealing the value that the court determined that building to be worth in the eminent domain hearing. We believe that the value is much higher than what it actually is worth. And then recently, 2 other projects that we are going to take a look at as part of the LRA Proactive Development Fund. One is Virginia Theater in South St. Louis, potentially being able to at least help weatherproof that building, again, secure it to the extent we can. And the ABC Auto Sales and Investment Company building at 3509 Page, recently acquired by LRA. Again, another unique opportunity and a great building that we think deserves a few more years in trying to find a developer who's willing to take on that challenging project, as well as all of these others. So just wanted to give you a highlight. We're also, as Otis mentioned, working to stabilize the Sarah Lou Cafe building. That one is really a challenge if you've driven by it. It's in really, really bad shape. That is not on the National Register, but it is one of our LRA properties. And again, that one is being funded by the Eco-Devo tax. So just want to give you a few highlights. Peter's in the room there. He can also answer any additional questions on any of these topics.
So in the interest of time, we're going to stop with our updates at this point, but I want to just leave a few themes. One, we want to take advantage of the fact that we own a lot of real estate, and instead of just holding, we are looking at active ways that we can activate all of these. and get them back on the tax rolls. So in that regard, hiring a grant writer plays into our goal of having a new look at our financial resources and how we integrate that with both public, private, and philanthropic dollars. We have, in fact, a very active economic development transformation fund that is a pilot program that's working around the Monarch and along the MLK corridor, and working with the community there on trying to work what Aaron Williams calls the cultural boulevard. So we are really laser focused on that, but also trying to develop a number of programs there. But our goal is to develop a number of loan and grant type programs that can facilitate a lot of things happening. Many of them to be revolving so that we can continue to use the funds over and over. The other initiative is to work with the Board of Aldermen and elected officials on establishing a CDC program. Don't know what that looks like, but it's going to happen. Maybe I got 3 or 4 more months, but it's going to happen. As I say, if I believe one thing here is that we've got to do CDC. All right. And the other thing is a real focus on downtown, because that is how we are seen. We need to do all of our neighborhoods. They're all priority, but we are seen by the nation and by our visitors about how our downtown looks. And so we can't forget it. And so we need to figure out how to do all these things. And so we're working with our partners in downtown to try and figure out a creative way to get that done as well. So that's our update. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Otis. Yeah. All right. Okay, at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
This would be under section 610.021 subsections 1, 3, and 13.
And 12, right?
12.
So moved.
Sorry.
Second.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Director Gilbert. Aye. Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sonia.
Aye.
Director Spencer.
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
And Chair Halls.
Aye. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, so all of our staff needs to exit from this as well, except for myself.
Well, we've got a Google Meet link that everyone's going to jump over to.
Who's that?
We have a Google Meet link that
Okay,
everyone's going to move over to. So folks
right,
can stay
great.
on the Zoom.
Fine, thank you.
All right, welcome back to the open session of the regular board meeting. At this time, may I please have a motion to adjourn? Pardon?
So move, McBride.
Oh, roll call coming back in, I'm sorry.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Here. Director Gilbert.
Here.
Director Koenig.
Here.
Director McBride.
Here.
Alderwoman Sonia.
Present.
Director Spencer. Oh, he just got. Director Spencer.
Aye. Yes.
Present.
Whatever works.
Director Young. I don't think he came back. And Chair Halls.
Present.
Okay. Now we can take motion.
All right, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All right, you're adjourned.
You're adjourned, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, happy holidays.